This is the Balancing Act by Security Compass, your guide to going fast while staying safe in today's digital world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast today. Our guest speaker is Kyle Lai. Kyle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Great. Kyle, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yep. So my name is Kyle Lai, President and Chief Information Security Officer at KLC Consulting. So KLC Consulting, our mission is to help defense contractors meet the cybersecurity compliance, specifically for the DoD, including DFARS 252, 204, 7012, 7020, CMMC, and NIST 800 171. And we are a candidate C3PAO in CMMC third-party assessment organization. So once we authorized by DoD, we'll start assess and certify defense contractors for CMMC level 2. So about myself, I've been in cybersecurity for about 20 years and been pending. I'm actually a pending CMMC provisional assessor and a provisional instructor. Already passed the test, and they're just waiting for that certification paper. So I have worked as an operations manager for Defense Information System Agency, or part of the DoD, managing the cybersecurity portal that supports the STICS and DoD-wide cybersecurity training. And in the past, I've also consulted for several Fortune 500 companies, including Microsoft, Zoom, Fidelity, ExxonMobil, and the Boeing. So I've refocused on the CMMC and NIST 800 171 and DFARS for the past 2 years or so. And we have helped many aerospace and defense contract manufacturers to meet the DoD cybersecurity requirements. And we pretty much help the defense contractor based on their needs. Some are more and less. But we kind of offer the CMMC NIST 800 171 compliance guidance and helping them the scope, policy, procedures, practices, and incident response help.
That's great. So let's just sort of jump right into the discussion at this point. You mentioned CMMC, and I'm wondering, what are the differences between CMMC 1.0 and CMMC 2.0?
Yep. There are definitely a few differences. Before we start, I'd like to introduce the acronym DIB, which stands for Defense Industrial Base. So we'll use the acronym throughout our conversation today. So CMMC 2.0 is 100% based on the NIST 800 171 now. Right. Unlike the CMMC 1.0, they actually have 20 additional practices. So we call that 20 Delta practices. Those actually went away. And there were in the CMMC 1.0, there are maturity processes requirements. So there were actually 3 different processes required for 17 practices. So that all went away. So it reduced 51 documentation requirements. So with NIST 800 171, it's based on 110 controls instead of 130, instead of 17 families. Now we're back to the NIST 800 171, 14 domains, right? And CMMC 1.0 have 5 maturity levels. However, level 2 and level 4 were not meaningful at all. So CMMC 2.0, they went down to 3 levels. So the old level 1 stays at level 1, what we call foundational. There are 17 practices. The old level 3, it became the new level 2, which is what we call advanced level. It has 110 practices. And the old level 5, it becomes the new level 3, which is the expert level. It has 110 practices plus additional NIST 800 172 assessment objectives. So, and the number 3, the differences is that CMMC 1.0 did not allow for gaps. So if you have any gaps, you cannot go for CMMC CMMC 1.0, but CMMC 2.0, they allow you to have gaps as long as you document these POAM, Plan of Action and Milestone. So you're allowed to have the gaps for up to 180 days. That's meaning that you can go for CMMC 2.0 level 2 certification while you have gaps, providing that there's a caveat, providing that the gaps, you cannot have the high risk items in your gaps, and you have to meet the minimum score, which is still to be defined by DoD. The next one is the CMMC 2.0 model. They allows for the self-attestation. So for level 1, CMMC 1.0 require you to get a third-party assessment, but in 2.0 level 1, you can do the self-attestation. However, the senior management still need to sign off, which is something new, and submit the results to the DoD. And you probably heard there's the level 2 have something called bifurcation, which means that subset of the level 2 that handles non-prioritized CY can do self-attestation. That's when they initially said. But however, there's a huge news from the DoD CIO town hall from the February 10th, 2022, which just happened, that DoD CISO Dave McKeown announced that he expects that all DIB companies handle CY to go through third-party assessment by C3PLs, right? So which means the self-attestation for CMMC 2.0 level 2 will most likely go away. It's not in writing yet, right? But mostly will go away. And all the companies requiring CMMC 2.0 level 2 will need to be assessed by the C3PL. So there are estimated about 80,000 out of 220,000 total DIB companies requiring CMMC 2.0 level 2. And also there's a third-party assessment requirements for level 2. We know it will be assessed by C3PAO, and for level 3, it will only be assessed by the government or by the DoD. There is also a change on the scoping. CMMC 2.0 scoping guide has been released in December 2021, and what's different was that CMMC 1.0 they only talk about CUI assets, right? You need to protect your CUI assets, and the CUI assets, that means the CUI, your assets that handle, process, transmit, and store CUI. But CMMC 2.0, they give you this scoping guide. So they mentioned that you have to manage these 4 types of assets. So on top of the CUI assets, there is something called security protection asset. That means an asset that could they may or may not touch the CUI, but it's actually used to protect the CUI. So it could be your firewall, VPN, or endpoint protection, SIM, those type. And there's a contractor risk managed assets. That means a asset that could store CUI, but you're using your policy, procedure, practices to manage and to actually control the behavior, so the CUI will not be stored there. And there's a specialized assets, which includes government assets, IoT, Internet of Things, or industrial Internet of Things, IoT, or OT. That's kind of like the ICS, PLC, CNC machines that produce parts in the manufacturing facilities. Mm-hmm. And you also define what are the out of scope assets, right? And finally, CMMC 2.0, they allow DoD to grant a waiver for mission critical projects at their discretion. So those are kind of at a high level, those are the differences.
Yeah, interesting. So you talked a lot about requirements and what has shifted. Do you have a sense of what's this timeline for CMMC 2.0 rulemaking? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the rulemaking, it will take about based on what DoD has communicated, it will take 9 to 24 months from the initial release of CMMC 2.0, which is November. So what we're estimating, it will take a little bit longer because there are two rules need to change. Is 32 CFR and the 48 CFR for handling CY. So we're expecting most likely will be the rulemaking will be done by the end of 2024. So most likely 2024, sorry, the end of 2023 is when the rulemaking should be done. And the beginning of 2024, we should see the requirements for the CMMC 2.0.
Now, you know, there are some that have already invested in CMMC 1.0, and you alluded to this a little bit, Kyle. How should an assessor manage the change if they are already now invested in CMMC 1.0?
Yeah, so for companies that already invested in the CMMC 1.0, CMMC 1.0 actually have a lot more requirements than 2.0 because 1.0, they actually have 130 controls practices, and the 2.0, they have 110. So both of them, luckily, is based on NIST 800-171. So you have to make some changes. For example, the scoping, as mentioned, there are differences on the scoping. So you just need to make sure that you account for all 4 types of scoping. And also you want to update the policy and procedures because the scoping change. You want to update your policy procedures, and also the SSP, the System Security Plan, and the Plan of Action and Milestone, the POAM, right? And also you want to make sure that you update your artifacts or the steps to produce these artifacts or the evidence, right? To demonstrate that you have the effective practices in place, the state that you can actually stay in compliance. And also, if you're a level 1, you can do the self-attestation. If you're a level 2, you still need to do the third-party assessment by the C3PAO. So yeah, so if you are in a level 1, you just need to make sure that your senior management actually know and get educated on what is CMMC or NIST 800-171, because they are going to be the one that sign off the results, and that they are going to be accountable for the compliance.
Yeah, makes sense. So you spoke earlier about defense contractors. Let's focus on them a little bit here. What should a defense contractor do before CMMC 2.0 rulemaking is complete?
Yeah, I would just say don't wait. Start now, because it actually takes time to become compliant with NIST 800-171 and the CMMC. And I mean, the DoD, they are trying to figure out a way to give the incentive to encourage the defense contractors to get their CMMC certification. And we should hear about, the actual DoD incentives are, but DoD, they want companies to do it soon as well. So DoD contractors, they must still meet the existing DFAR clauses, including DFAR 7012, 7019, 7020. And DFAR 7012 has been in place since December 31st, 2017, which means most of the DoD contracts that involve CY should have this clause. So whether you go for the CMMC or not, this is something that you still have to do. And within that DFAR 7012, it shows that, you have to do self-attestation, but you must implement NIST 800-171, and you must have the cybersecurity incident response and reporting capabilities, based on the DFAR 7012. So this is something that you still have to do. So I would say defense contractors should not wait, because there are all these requirements already in place, and it does take time. From my experience, when we're working with our clients, usually it takes more than 12 months to document the necessary policy procedures, practices, SSPs, and to implement the necessary hardware and software tools to meet the compliance. So yeah, it does take time. So yeah, don't wait. That's my recommendation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're listening to the podcast here from Security Compass, the Balancing Act podcast. Kyle, any final thoughts on things that you think are important that we haven't touched upon today that you feel would be important for our audience to know, to educate themselves and be better prepared?
Yeah, I would say keep up with the news on the CMMC and check out the CMMC AB website. And also we do provide the CMMC, we do produce the CMMC videos. So you can check out our website as well, our YouTube channel, KLC Consulting, and KLCconsulting.net is our website. So we do post some blogs about the news.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kyle. We encourage our audience to go in, check out KLC Consulting. It's been an honor. Thanks, Kyle.
Hey, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Want to learn about what Security Compass has to offer? Check out securitycompass.com/demo for a free demo today. Want more of the Balancing Act? Be sure to subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts for more episodes.